Hi everyone, it's Nadia Jake. This is Buddy, Sedona, and Babu is right outside. And today we're going to talk about Godzilla Minus One. It was one surprising film. First of all, I love Japanese films. I haven't really watched any previous Godzilla films, so I didn't really know what to expect. And I will say right off the bat, I give this movie 10 out of 10. It was so I cried. I don't usually cry in theaters. I cry at home all the time, but I have usually more self-control because there are other people watching me and I don't want to. I cried and it was so emotional and so well done. I was just so pulled into that world. Like some scenes were predictable for sure, but it was just like it pulls you in with emotions. It's not just like, oh, this monster we gotta kill. Like it really shows you about life, Japan in World War II, and the devastation of that war. It's like one of the best movies I've seen all year, and it was so refreshing to watch because we've seen some good movies this year for sure, but sometimes it's like, oh man, there are really not a lot of good movies out there. I was like, finally, this was really nice, and I can't wait till it comes out, and I really want to get this on DVD. What else do you think?
Well, no, I think you are totally accurate. The fact that there's a lot of good movies, but they aren't necessarily in this mode of like epic action storytelling with a heart, like these kinds of things that we know Spielberg, James Cameron for, just like felt like traditional storytelling done really well. There was meaning behind every scene, and it was tackling very deep, serious subjects. And one thing I admired the movie while I was sitting there going like, wow, this is a lot of slow scenes, this is a lot of slow scenes, but I didn't feel the audience pulling away. In fact, it seemed like it was just making it more absorbing. And if anything, it's a reminder that Hollywood films today, if anything, they're missing that slowness that reminded me a little bit of like Avatar, The Way of Water, like there's some slower scenes in building, but you have to build things for people to care about what's going on, especially like, I haven't seen many Godzilla movies, but the ones I've seen, it's mostly focused on the action and on blowing things up, and that can be fun, but the human characters are usually an afterthought, and a lot of people are saying this about this movie, but it felt very true to the subject of Godzilla, since the whole story, was spawned out of post-war Japan and is a commentary on the atomic era and everything, so it felt very fitting. And Godzilla as like a manifestation of this character's PTSD and guilt and kind of the collective guilt and trauma of Japan after the war was really amazing. And the way they set up the family dynamic was unique. It wasn't just a typical like, oh, he has a wife and daughter that he loves. Like you spend time seeing their family get built from scratch. Like it's their whole story. And you don't see a lot of that except in like classic Hollywood movies where they're just like, they keep the pace going and they're like, all right, we're going to follow this person's life. And then we're going to bring in like the main conflict. And just getting that was really satisfying. And it made the Godzilla scenes 10 times more thrilling, 10 times more scary. Like Godzilla was actually scary in this film, I thought.
I didn't find him scary. I found him cute.
Okay.
I don't know. I found him really cute. But
I mean, that set piece in the ocean when Godzilla's chasing their boat, like that was...
Yeah, he was just playing with his toy.
I heard the director was inspired by Jaws, and you can kind of
I've never
sense
seen
that.
Jaws.
You gotta see Jaws. But
I'm scared to see Jaws. So.
But also, like, you had multiple dynamics where you have, like, his family dynamic, where he has the woman he loves and the daughter, and they're kind of, like, makeshift family unit. That's really beautiful and touching.
And the neighbor is really nice.
The neighbor, even she has, like, a character arc,
Yeah,
you see how she goes.
Get into that until
we'll get into that into spoilers, but you have that, and then you have this, like, guys on a mission. You have the camaraderie of, like, the guys he works with, So you have, like, this work life, you have this family life, seeing them meet together. I was so engaged just in the story, and as I was watching it, I was going, man, if Godzilla wasn't even in this movie, I'd be enjoying this film.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I didn't feel like it was a Godzilla film, although even though it's a Godzilla film, there was already so much story and so much emotion and really good substance in the characters and the storyline within itself of living through the war, what it means, whatever else, everyday life, that it was just like Godzilla is just gonna mess it up a little bit more. But he's not necessarily like driving the emotions. I don't know how to explain it. Like a consequence of something that was already moving.
Yeah, I would say this is one of my favorite movies of the year. I'd give it like an 8 or a 9. And some people might say like it was too sentimental in parts. Maybe. I didn't see that. I feel like they earned. You know, they're dealing with the biggest events, World War II, the atomic era.
Yeah, what do you expect
trauma,
them to be?
It's about
It's gonna be
kamikaze pilot, you know, like it's
Yeah.
very, very heavy subject. Some stuff that maybe people are like, oh, that was kind of cheap. But I thought the way they did the ending, the way the themes tied together, it felt honest. It felt like they really earned it. They put the time in. That I was like a wreck by the end of it. I was like trying not to cry because it was so moving and so well done. Not just the final action set piece is fantastic, Star Wars level, almost like classic Star Wars in a way, which is weird to say, but you know, there's flying, there's all sorts of elements, the ocean, the sky, you know, Godzilla, like it's just so creative the way they were building this action set piece. It reminded me very much of like a James Cameron thing because it's so big, so over the top, but so clear. But the stakes are built. You know, there's scenes where we're seeing almost like a Top Gun Maverick. Also, kind of reminded me of that. The way they nailed the ending. They set up. This is the plan. This is the execution. This is the geography of how it's going to work. And then seeing it go the way it does, it's brilliant. The way it just brings the audience in and we're engaged, we're participants. So nailed everything. Like I'm just so impressed with this movie. The fact that it was made on a very low budget compared to blockbusters made in Hollywood, you know, it's incredible. But that's not to like dismiss the movie as like, oh, it was great for a $15 million movie. Like, no, it was just great, period. Shall we get into spoilers?
We shall. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. All right. So I love the character arc for everyone, especially the main characters. The guy who was a kamikaze pilot. It was really interesting that he escaped, quote unquote, his duty, and then went to an island where ultimately his actions indirectly ended up getting a lot of mechanics killed. He was blamed and from a surviving mechanic.
But even a character as small as the surviving mechanic, because when he first arrives on the island, the mechanic's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with your plane, but hey, I don't blame you. Like, we're losing the war. Like, I don't blame you for not wanting to go kill yourself for a lost cause. Like, Godzilla, like smaller Godzilla, lizard Godzilla, shows up on the island and kills everyone. After that happens, then the mechanic is like, you're a coward, I hate you, because he has personal experience with that. And I thought that was so brilliant that even he had an arc throughout the movie of forgiving him, of learning, of, you know, valuing life. And like, that's the whole movie's about valuing life.
Because when you see in the beginning, you know, the main character, he went from like being a coward, hating himself, to really like being the hero and saving everyone from Godzilla. Well, big arc there. And also, I love the arc of his girlfriend, quote unquote. You know, she is with him because the circumstances are easy. She accepts someone else's baby and they raise the baby as their own. There's a love interest there, but the guy is not acting on it because he feels so ashamed of himself that he doesn't find himself worthy. When he tells her that he was a kamikaze pilot, you know, she's like, oh man, you know, I can't believe you did that, kind of judgmental look. But at the same time, she's like forgiving of him. And she goes, at the end, you know, they think she's dead. At the very end, it turns out she's alive. She loses an eye and she goes, did you win your war? Are you done with your war? Like, she's talking about really like internal battle that because there's an external battle, but there's also the internal battle of being able to forgive yourself and let go of the past and feel like you deserve enough to be able to have a family of your own and, you know, live in happiness instead of living in the past. So she's basically asking him, like, have you let go of the past? And because he has amended his feelings by being a hero, finally, he has. And I think that was a beautiful thing to see. And the other arc that I want to talk about is a neighbor who goes from, you know, you shouldn't be alive. She loses her children. And then it goes from that to being a surrogate, not surrogate mother, but like an aunt. They call her, the kid calls her an aunt. And he is able to trust her to babysit his you know, adopted kid basically, gives her money and to take care of his kid in case he doesn't make it. That's really beautiful. And also, like, I love the scene where the final takedown of Godzilla and, he heads directly into Godzilla's mouth, and then it's such a slow motion of doing it. And then the way that it was directed was, oh my God, so good. It was so emotional. The music, the way it's directed, the acting. Godzilla finally being defeated, although he's not defeated, because at the end you see that like he's probably going to come back to life because he regenerates himself. And honestly, I'm glad because I almost feel like he's misunderstood. But it was just so well done. And it was like they made all this plan. None of that worked, but what really worked is just like him sacrificing himself like he was supposed to in the beginning of the film. He ended up doing it, but he had something
but
worth
not sacrificing himself.
But he had something. He could have died. He didn't.
The point is that he didn't. That's the journey that he took.
Yeah, and because he wanted to live. He's like, I deserve to live. I have a family, I have a daughter, or whatever else. Like, he has something to live for, and that's like a beautiful thing. That like life is beautiful, and don't die. It's not worth it. It's better to kind of like rebuild out of the ashes like a phoenix rather than let go. And they do that in so many ways. Like the guy's home is, it became a wasteland because of all the bombing, all the war and everything else. And you see like the neighborhood kind of start to rebuild itself. Just like the neighborhood, he also rebuilds himself and everyone else does in this film. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. And it's very sentimental and I really love that.
I feel like in a more traditional blockbuster, the thing to do would be once he has like this wife and kid, he has something to care about and fight for. But what was so interesting and what I loved about this movie is that we're going through the movie going like, okay, I can see he's going to have this family he cares about now, and he's going to battle Godzilla again at the end and face down his demons. But then there's a scene where he has his coworkers over and he's like, oh, we're not married. She's not my wife, and that's not my daughter. And then they're like, you have something beautiful, like accept it. He's like, no, they're not my, and that makes him, that's like unlikable character. You're like, oh, that's frustrating.
Especially when the daughter was saying, hi, daddy, or something like that. And he goes, how many times do I tell you that I'm not your dad? And I was like, oh.
I know. It's like, it's heartbreaking. But then you see like why he really struggles with PTSD. He has these nightmares and clearly is just so burdened by guilt that by the time we get to the final scene, and some people may say it's like, oh, it's cheating a little bit that you bring back the woman, who ends up being alive at the end. But I thought it earned it, and it just really tied home the themes that were just, oh my God, it was perfect. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's just such a flawlessly executed movie, and the script is just so well done and has so much care taken towards the characters that it makes the monster feel like a real monster. And so good.
Yeah. Okay, so final question for you. Do you feel like the monster was truly a monster, or just like he didn't know? He is like a child who was treating all the people like a toy. You know how like children sometimes they build like bridges and play a monster and stuff like that without really understanding because it's just toys to them. So
no, I think in certain Godzilla movies, Godzilla is like a misunderstood creature, or even a sympathetic or a hero, like it just depends on the movie, on who's making it and what the purpose is. And I think for the purpose of this movie, pure monster, just pure chaos, not even like a thing of malice, but just chaos. And I think it represents war in general, just all of war. I think in certain movies, and I think traditionally Godzilla represents like the atomic bomb and the atomic age and the unleashing of that kind of power. Which
is fair because he does unleash atomic bomb powers from his mouth.
Oh, that was incredible. The Godzilla fire breathing, it was just like, oh my God. It's very well done. Really, really powerful and frightening. And yeah, I think it's just war. It's just pure chaos and war. That's what Godzilla represents in this movie. So that when they defeat him, when they band together, it's just so satisfying.
I would like because at the end they showed Godzilla possibly rebuilding. I would like to see him come back to life, but like almost like a child size, so that he can like be taken care of by like humans. And then he's like, oh, They're nice.
They could do a
Kinda
real
thing.
Terminator 2, turning the Terminator into like a good guy.
Yeah, and then
Godzilla's
when he
good in the
becomes the
second movie.
big guy, then he's really like,
But isn't that like the whole story of the Godzilla franchise? Godzilla keeps coming back to fight the new worst monster, you know?
I don't know. This is the first Godzilla film I've ever seen.
This is the first one you've ever seen?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You haven't even seen like the Gareth Edwards Godzilla, the American ones?
I don't think so.
Well, we should
Unless
watch
I
them.
saw
Let
it
us-
when I was sleeping.
Hey, how about let us know your favorite Godzilla movies and we'll watch them.
Yeah, preferably one that where Godzilla is nice.
And also tell Nadia to watch Jaws, please.
Oh God, I don't know. Well, thank you so much, and let us
Thanks
know
for
what you think,
watching.
and we'll see you next time.
Yep, talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.